First of all, I just want to acknowledge the fans. I thought the student body was great. I thought a lot of times their energy and enthusiasm propelled us through some tough times. And I just thought our overall crowd was really good. I don't know if it was Vanderbilt was the opponent or the students were back or we had a whole bunch of alums around here too. But I thought our crowd was special, and I thought it really helped our guys through some tough times there. Next thing is just about the game. I thought we wanted to pressure them in the first half, but we got in foul trouble early there. We had several guys with 2 fouls, so we had to be careful about continuing to foul them in the backcourt with our pressure. But I thought in the second half, our pressure bothered them a little bit. Obviously, a key stat in there we had was rebounding the basketball. I think Damian Jones is probably the best post player in the SEC. I know there's a lot of guys that have a better sort of NBA draft potential, but as far as like production, I think he's really, really good. So they put you in a bind because they got so many guys that can shoot the basketball, but you got to help on Damian Jones in some way, shape, or form. So I thought we had to make sure we somehow combat that with our pressure. And then the other thing I think that ends up happening is we got to the free throw line so much. Okay, a key stat I think in basketball is always, do you make more free throws than the other team attempts? And we did that. So that on top of our rebounding, I thought was good for us.
Question.
Fred just saying completely relieved that the team finally got a win. How big was that just for a confidence standpoint? You said earlier in the year the team just didn't know how to win games. How big is that now moving forward, that you have that win now after 16 straight balls?
Well, I thought we took a huge step with our play at Texas A&M. I thought that if we didn't foul Texas A&M so much, we uncharacteristically fouled, and then we also allowed so many paint touches against Texas A&M. And I think people are starting to realize Texas A&M is pretty good. I think they end up winning at LSU. So I thought we took a huge step to our approach to the game at Texas A&M, but you didn't get the result that you wanted. The same thing we played USC Upstate. I thought we competed and did some really good things there, but you worry about because the end result wasn't a win. So now how do your guys bounce back because, hey, we did what we were supposed to do, but we didn't win. And so now do they have the fortitude to continue to do what they're supposed to do without the result being what they want, okay? We talked about, hey, this is not it's a process. You got to keep doing the right things, and then it pays off. So I'm glad it did pay off because I think we needed that victory. And I think our guys need to experience some success. But now I told them the next step of this is like, how do you handle this? So when we have class Tuesday morning, does everybody show up to class on time at 8 o'clock in the morning? We have our practice. Is everybody here ready to go? Do we have any mishaps off the court? So me, it's like, how do you handle this success? So the first time I get sort of a notice of somebody showing up late to class, that tells me that you're not handling success very well. We're not getting ourselves prepared for the next game.
How was, when you look at IJ taking that shot, he never thought twice about it, just from a confidence standpoint and just reaction instead of thinking, that probably showed progress too.
Yeah, and we set it up. I mean, so it's a bind when you have chicken who look like the chicken of old there for a little bit as far as like getting into the lane to make things happen. And then you got Gavin Ware diving, who's a threat to dive and finish. So they had to come over and help. And now IJ comes off that thing with a chance to shoot the basketball. But I'm glad he didn't hesitate because he's a capable shooter.
We're talking about Damian, I guess, for Vanderbilt. But Riley, y'all really kept him in check, I guess. Just talk about maybe a point of emphasis on guarding him today.
Yeah, I think the key to guarding him is like the guys off the ball. And what I mean by that is they always do a screen-to-screener action. So he sets a screen to take somebody to the basket, and then he comes off a down screen. So to me, it's the guys that he's trying to screen for. They got to do their job. So we did a great job of jumping to the basketball and not getting screened. And so now the guy guarding LaChance doesn't have to open up and help, and now he can stay attached so he don't come off those screens wide open, okay? The other thing is, obviously, he's a stunt and stay guy. We got terminology with our scouting report. He's a Curry guy, NBA. We always have an NBA guy, so he's Curry. We don't want to leave him open for threes. But I thought the key was the guys did their job with their assignments, especially the guys off the ball. The guys guarding LaChance did a really good job, but they did a really good job because they didn't have to help on screens to the basket.
The aggressiveness you talk about on defense, on offense too, when Sword and Dage and guys started just attacking the top of the key, it did produce a lot of points, but it seemed like it kind of set Vanderbilt back defensively. Yeah, and I told our guys we got to be careful because I thought it was a stint there we were having a lot of success attacking because they kind of got spread out, uncharacteristic for them.
But then they started to pack it back in, and we started putting our heads down and driving, and it all became an isolation. Chicken was isolation driving, Raquez was isolation driving, and I thought it became bad, and our offense became stagnant. So we wanted to say, hey, we want to attack, but we want to move the ball around because they're sitting there waiting for you to drive the basketball now. So we got to have some movement.
And offensively, it seemed like it was a team effort. I think only 2 people were in double digits. Just talk about maybe IJ was talking about it, sharing the ball more there in the second half. Just talk about that.
To me, it's the most important thing you do. We talked about our number one thing we want to do is value the basketball. And then the second most important thing is share the basketball. And I think we get so wrapped up in trying to make plays, and it's not out of selfishness. It's just that, hey, we want to attack the paint. We want to attack the paint. And then with our inability to make shots at times, guys just put their hair down and they drive into traffic. So, hey, we just got to move the ball. We say we want to attack early in transition. So we get it out. We want to attack. And if it's not there, let's share the basketball, break the defense down, and then get the ball into the paint.
I think you kind of touched on it, but IJ and Fred said there was aggressiveness in the first and second half, but that aggressiveness in the first half wasn't the positive, maybe the driving. What did you see in the 2 halves that was different about the aggressiveness?
Well, I thought that we, first of all, our personnel changed because of the fact that we had guys out there with foul trouble, okay? And I thought they did a much better job of not being, they were compact really in the first half. The other thing, they were scoring. And so when they were scoring, they got a chance to set their defense. And so I thought in the second half we got more stops, we knocked more balls loose, so we got out in transition, so it broke their defense down from the very beginning. I thought that was the key.
A head 3 there at the end. Did you ever entertain the thought of fouling them?
We tried to foul. Chicken did foul. And so, I mean,
chicken lunge?
You can't go over and hatchet a guy and get an intentional foul, but I thought he clearly fouled him. And so maybe we didn't make that apparent enough to the referees because I told 1, but I didn't tell 3, so that's on the coaching staff. But we were trying to foul. What we wanted to do was pick up full court and take some time off the clock. So once they got into the front court, we wanted to foul. But it's a tricky situation because you don't want to foul a guy when he's getting closer to the 3-point line or closer to a position where he can shoot it. And now it's a shooting foul. So we said we wanted to pressure in the backcourt, keep everything in front of us. As soon as they get it across half, foul. I thought Chicken fouled, but obviously he didn't because they didn't call it.
6 turnovers.
Another productive game by Oliver Black showing progress there. What have you seen in him?
But just his activity. I mean, he just is a guy that cares about basketball. He wants to win. He wants to do the right thing. And the other thing I talked about in the past, Paul, he's got a nose for the ball. And so what I told him, he's got to do a better job of defensive rebounding. If you look at his stats, it's like he's almost got as many offensive rebounds as defensive rebounds. So we want to make sure he gets a chance to get more defensive rebounds. So I think what you'll see is as he continues to figure some things out, and really next year when he becomes bigger and stronger, he's going to be a problem because he's a guy that goes after the ball.
6 turnovers for IJ in the first half, only 1 in the second. He played more minutes in the second half. What did you see that was different about his second half?
Well, I thought in the first half he had some guys out there that really didn't have a chance to break the defense down with him. And so we had a team out there that was really a lot of guys who can't make shots and are not a threat. And so he was trying to put his head down there and drive, and there was nowhere to go. So instead of having Travis Daniels out there who can make a 3, Demetrius Houston is out there. And so you had situations like that where I thought he didn't have space to drive the basketball. He tried to do a little bit too much.
It's the 3rd time you've had the alumni weekend. How did it go, and what kind of feedback did you get from some of those old players?
Well, they really appreciate the fact that we're doing this. They hadn't done it in the past. And I think it's something we want to make sure that we always invite our guys back. And I don't want it to be just the alums. Like this is the alum game, so now they come back. I want them coming back all the time, any game. But the thing that's most special for me is sitting down having a conversation, and you see a guy that's talking to his teammate that he hasn't seen in a decade, or a guy talking to his teammate that he hasn't seen in 20 years, and those guys get the chance to reconnect. It's great to get a chance to see all the new things going around here on campus, new scoreboard and what have you, but to me the most special part of this is when those guys reconnect, because that team was a family for them. And now they've been away from their family for a decade, getting a chance to go back and talk and revisit some things and relive some great moments. That, to me, is the most important thing.
Finally, didn't play. Was it just Raquez and Gavin and Oliver taking those minutes?
Well, I didn't think he had been productive for us as far as rebounding the basketball and finishing at the rim. And I thought Oliver deserved to get some more minutes there. So we used that 3-man rotation. That doesn't mean Falou is done, but I thought, hey, it's the next man up. So if if Raquez or Gavin or Oliver was unproductive, then Falou's going to come in. So as of right now, we're going to continue to use that 3-man rotation until one of those guys are not playing well or somebody's in foul trouble. But I thought with the way Oliver Black was playing at that point in time, he deserved to get more minutes.
The possession after IJ hit the 3, out of a timeout, I think 15 seconds left in the shot clock. What happened, or did it happen the way you wanted to do, where Fred had that 3, then I think they came back down, but what happened out of the timeout that didn't work or that worked?
Well, we came out of the timeout, and what we wanted to do was get Rocquez the ball, and Rocquez got it and he lost possession of it and fumbled it around. But what we wanted to do was get a backdoor to Chicken and then hand it off right there, but it didn't happen right there because he fumbled the ball, so now it's just a broken play. I thought those guys kind of pressured him a little bit, and he didn't end up catching the ball cleanly. And so when you didn't have catching it cleanly, now the offensive possession comes, you kind of discombobulated.
Coach Stolling said he thought you guys won the game because you just played harder, more aggressive, more enthusiastic, especially in the second half. Same thing Leonard Hamilton said a couple of weeks ago. That seems to be the theme when you guys are able to win. Is that accurate?
I think it's pretty much for anything in sports. And, when guys go out there and they play with more energy and more enthusiasm, they play harder, you've got a chance to win. I think the only time that doesn't come into effect is when you're so much offensively gifted and talented than the team that you're playing. And so sometimes you can go out there and not play when it's inspiration, but that means because you got guys who are just NBA players or you got guys that are pros in the NFL. But beyond that, I think the team that always plays that way is probably going to end up being the victor.
Hey, real quick.